For some reason, yeah, okay. Let's wait. See if people can come back. I don't know what happened. It dropped.
Regina, boa noche.
My mom. Okay. So Lucy was there, Coach Materno was there, like we had 3-4 more people. So let's just wait, see if people can come back. I don't know what happened. It was just froze.
It looks better now because
Can you see me now?
Yeah, everything's normal.
My mom said good night, good evening. Oh my gosh. Let's see if people will be able to come back.
They probably will. They probably to go find it.
Okay, Lucy's back. My brother. everybody will know like this.
Yay!
Okay. Okay. Lucy's saying that she can hear us, can see us. Okay. For who doesn't know me, like especially for Melissa followers, I'm Claudia Stendhal, Melissa's sister-in-law. I'm a mom coach and working with moms, especially in the first couple of years of motherhood that can be challenged for some moms. Finish a call. And I'm here today to talk to Melissa. She's my sister-in-law, has baby Zeno. He's almost 2 years old. He's gonna be 2 in August. She's married to Ben Stendhal. And what else? Can you introduce yourself? Tell a little bit, all of us, what you do. How can you help people? Like a little bit about your background. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes. So I have one child, and that's the almost 2-year-old. And for my work, I do physical therapy. I specialize in pelvic health, which is going to be part of a big reason why I decided for the home birth, you will hear.
Yeah.
And I had a home birth in 2018 when I was living in New York City. And I was born on a Monday. I don't know. That's probably good for my personal information. Yep.
Yeah. So let's start with your story. Like, why did you decide home birth, and like, how did you prepare yourself for home birth?
So it was a pretty natural decision for me. I already was interested by the time I got pregnant because I, for my work mainly actually with pregnant and postpartum clients. And so I'm trained in what happens to the body during birth. I'm helping birthers with how to have a more efficient labor and delivery and how to avoid birth injuries and recover postpartum. So I think all of the knowledge about what happens to the body and also what you can do for that builds a lot of confidence. So it made me more comfortable with the concept of being at home. And then I also had statistics on home births. So statistically, they're safe if you have a low risk pregnancy. And a lot of people don't know that. It might sound risky compared to a hospital. So like knowing that it's statistically not, that's of course good. And then also the rates of birth injuries are lower at home, and the people who give birth at home rate a high level of satisfaction with their birth experience. So all of that information just made me feel confident and like looking more into that option. So I did. So I started interviewing midwives. I actually had my first couple prenatal appointments with the OBGYN practice where I had my routine gynecology exams. So I just continued with them. And then I interviewed some midwives because that's who does the birth at home if you're gonna be at home. And I liked somebody that I interviewed, and that was it. So I switched to being under their care, and that was it. So
Yeah, tell me more about it. Like your experience, why specifically? What is the type of injuries that you can have that are made you think like that? How did you prepare yourself, physically, emotionally? Tell me all about it. Like from the beginning, how did you start preparing yourself in the first couple of months? Like books. What type of gears that did you have to buy to have at home to deliver your baby and all that? That was all about it.
Okay. So let's see. So building the team is part of the prep. So you've got the midwife, and part of also the decision too with home birth is like when you have a midwife, they are the one who will deliver the baby. So you don't have to worry if somebody else you don't know is going to be there that day, or the one that you like somebody you chose is going to be there for you. So there's that person.
Time from the beginning to the end?
Yes. Well, whenever you're far enough in labor that they come, like they don't, they encourage you to be at home and, time things. And so when it's time, they come to your house and they're the one who's there the whole time. They don't sleep, I guess. I wasn't paying attention to who was taking naps, but that's who's there. Don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
When she got at your house until Zena was born, how long did that take? When she got in your house and Zena was born?
She got there, if I remember, I'm going to be a little, this is where my husband would actually be better for this than me. Because I was busy. I don't know. But so the doula came first. It was my first kid, so I don't know if I would ask her to come as early, like if I had a second child. But I wanted her to come over, I'm jumping around. Let me start. So I started having regular contractions around 11 a.m. and I was actually shopping for nursing bras in the store or for tank tops. And I remember telling them, being like, "Oh yeah, I'm in labor right now." And they're like, "Should you go?" I was like, No, it's fine. And I went home, and then I asked Ben to come home early for dinner, just because I kind of didn't want to be alone. I don't know. It's my first time. So he came home early before dinner time to just be there. And then around midnight, I wanted the doula to come. And the doula is part of the team. You don't have to have one, but that's a person who is dedicated just to helping the birther and just coping with all the labor and everything, and helping also the birth partner. So in this case, my husband, helping him to know what to do, and everyone has different roles. So anyway, so I wanted her to come, and she got there around 12 or 1 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
I don't know exactly. And then I think the midwife came at 6 a.m. or 8.
Okay, what is the difference between doula and a midwife? So for whoever doesn't know that.
So the midwife is a licensed professional. They are the person who will help you deliver the baby, and they're responsible for all of the medical care. And they're the experts worldwide, that a midwife is the expert in a physiologic childbirth. And the term physiologic means that it's a vaginal birth without intervention. So if it's not vaginal, or if it is requiring intervention, then that's the obstetrician, the OBGYN. So the midwife is the medical provider, basically. Gotcha. And then the doula is also a certified physician, and they are doing coping strategies and mom support. So it's more about the support. So they could do aromatherapy, they can do massage, they might do helping you set up the room, move around, meditation, breathing, just sitting in the corner. If you're just sit there and watch me, that's what they do. So but they're trained in also what's going on with the birth and all these different options for support. So that's the difference. They're not a medical.
So a doula cannot do the procedure. You have to have a midwife to do at home.
Yes, a doula cannot actually. They're not like the birth attendant. They are a support.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, that was you're in a process, and How was it? So that was.
So I had the doula come first because I wasn't very far in labor, but I wanted more support. So that's exactly the idea. They can come and help you with you. And then I think the midwife came around 6 or 8 in the morning. Basically, when the doula arrived, I was like, all right, Ben, you and her are in charge of tracking things. I'm just going to be here, whatever, like feeling what I feel. So I didn't want to be tracking stuff. So they tracked it, and they called, the midwife when it was time. And so she came, and then
how far you were when the midwife came? How like dilated you were?
No, so that's one of the differences. At home, they're not going to check you all the time.
Oh.
So they don't do,
because it was just so bad for me. Checking on me, it was just not comfortable.
Yeah. They don't. I'm sorry, I have some lighting issues. Yeah, they don't check necessarily unless there's something specific they're looking for. So that can be seen as a good thing, right? Like you don't touch me. So
less invasion.
Yep. And the dilation of the cervix can vary a lot. So it's not the only thing that lets you know what the progress is. So they don't use that as the only thing. So yeah, so she didn't really check. It's actually really the specifics about like what time it was and how far along I was, like I don't know. But that's kind of how I wanted it. I just wanted to have the experience and just feel it out. And if there was a problem, then I know the midwife is there and she will fix, address it or transfer, if we had to, we didn't have to. So I do remember like the birth tub, that's pretty common. So it's like this baby pool, and they set that up, and I thought that would be awesome, but I didn't really love it. I just didn't.
Pool?
So, yeah.
Yeah, so that was like, let's just like go back a little bit. Like you're pregnant and you have to prepare yourself and have all the gears at home. You have to buy some stuff. You have to prepare yourself physically, emotionally. Let's go like by steps. How did you prepare yourself with gears? If people are having a baby at home, what do they need to have a baby at home?
So when you choose your midwife, she or he will set up appointments and then also tell you about supplies. So there's home birth kits, and they'll help you to order that. And then you can also choose whether or not you want a birth tub there and like what type. There's a few varieties. So they'll guide you in all of that. And so the kit comes with most of the supplies that are needed. And that includes the little syringe, like, because the baby has to have a shot at the, when they're born, and like some little things like that. So stuff for the baby will be brought by the midwife. And then the kit comes with, a lot of like supplies like gloves and sheets and stuff. And then you also are told to buy some extra stuff for the bed.
Yeah, remember you're looking to buy towels.
Yes. Yeah, so I just wanted cheap towels because you should have some extra to like throw around, or like I was on a birth ball at one point, like one of those big exercise balls, and sitting on it. And so rather than like sitting on it because it's plastic, so you will have a towel for that. Your bed, you get like a waterproof, like for kids who wet the bed, like you can buy stuff like that. So you get these waterproof fitted covers for the bed, and then you can put your sheets on top, or you buy like cheap spare ones and put that on top, so they'll just get thrown away. So there's a whole bunch of linens and stuff that just gets thrown out. Like the midwife will clean it all up.
Really?
And then, yeah. And so you can always buy more of that too if you want. So because your whole house is your birth room. You can be on your bed, you can be on the floor, you can be on the couch, in the rocking chair, in the shower, in the birth pool. I was outside at one point. I was in Brooklyn then, so I had neighbors who could like see directly down in there. So I didn't stay out there, but we at one point we talked about setting up a tent so I could go outside, because I really wanted to birth outside. I just really wanted to be out in nature, like So I didn't do that. And there's stuff that like preparing food and drink, right? Like, so what do you want to have? Because you can eat and drink. No one cares about that at home, and it's good for your energy. So I really liked frozen watermelon, so I had that ready. Gatorades, like electrolytes for hydration, Gatorade and drinks like that. And then
we have the same procedure in the hospital because you never know when the situation will get bad. If like the midwife, whatever, have you avoiding really eating if you have to like go through something and go to the hospital, or you just say to just normal?
Just eat normal, because the risk of like vomit or something like that with surgery is really low, and it's like full anesthesia, and that often doesn't happen. Like a cesarean is just the lower half of the body. So if you transfer there, it's not considered a risk if you've been eating or drinking. So the midwives don't care about that. But I personally didn't end up, they had to like force me to eat. I remember this stupid piece of toast, like every few hours they would try to make me eat more of it. It was getting stale. And I remember this toast, like hated it, but I don't know. I didn't feel like, I thought I would eat like a pig. Like I would eat like a pig normally. So why wouldn't I eat? But I didn't want to. So they were trying to help me to make sure I kept my energy up and take little mini naps and stuff. And that was another thing I didn't understand. Like, how was I supposed to take a nap amid all of this? I don't know.
Yeah, I was awake the entire time. But
yeah,
I was exhausted. So when she came out, I was completely exhausted.
Yeah. It's good.
So, and did you do anything specifically to prepare yourself emotionally for it?
Emotionally, yes. Emotionally, one of the big things that helped me was actually making the postpartum plan. I worked really hard to set everything up, like set rules with family members and when visitors could come. And to prepare, like I got this book called The First 40 Days. First 40 Days. It's
what is that?
It's about the first 40 days after birth when you're supposed to be healing. Like in traditional Chinese, Indian cultures, for instance, it's a period of basically staying home, and you have lots of nutritious foods and try to eat certain foods for recovering your nutrients and things like that. So I really love that book. I can share it later, but it's
that's a book.
Yeah, it's a book.
Okay.
And so I
thought actually it was like a package or whatever, like you got like
no, it's a book.
Okay.
But I made a lot of the recipes, and I made a body scrub too. They have like a body scrub you can make with coconut oil and brown sugar and stuff like that. And I made that for baths and showers because I like baths. But preparing like all of that was really calming for me emotionally. I felt really
you prepare that ahead, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Like way ahead. I also, we would like froze soups and things like that we made. And then also the doula was big. So that wasn't something that, you don't meet a whole bunch with the doula before the birth, but knowing that she was going to be there and that was part of emotional support during birth was also emotionally like peaceful for me during pregnancy. So I think
that makes a huge difference. Like you just knowing that a person's right there for you. It's like, I don't know if I would be brave enough to have at home, but like it just maybe comforting to have like a person just really pay attention to you. Like in my situation, like in a hospital, I had a bunch of interns coming and checking on me all the time, but I didn't feel the personal contact, like the personal connection,
Yeah.
So it was kind of cold. And my doctor, basically, I saw her 3 times when I got in the hospital. When she came to check on me, that I was actually 6 centimeters. Then she broke my water and all that. That was like 10, 12 hours later. And then when I had my C-section. It's basically like through 18 hours, 20 hours, I saw my doctor just really quick, like 2 times.
Yeah.
So I guess like in certain way at home, you feel like the person's there for you all the time. Just pay attention and know what's going on, right?
Pretty much. Yep. And that was part of the decision making. I liked that structure. It made me feel much more comfortable that could just be the way it is. And the doula, like I remember at one point it was the toughest part of the labor for me. And I remember, I don't know what she said, but she was basically telling me like words of encouragement in my ear, like the whole time. And I don't know what she said, but I remember thinking like, thank God for this angel literally like in my ear right now. And so it was a big deal for me. I mean, and I think, Ben would also describe how helpful that was. So knowing that we were going to have emotional support right then was also comforting beforehand. So that was part of the emotional prep, is to have those types of support structures in place.
Yeah. So, but having it at home, it's no chance for anesthesia, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Like that is a huge part of the prep, because it's really mental, like how you're going to think about the sensations. Mm-hmm. And so it's actually like things that I read, and also just from pain science and like neuroscience that I would apply again with my work. Like I feel very advantaged from my job, like helping with all this, but from pain science, like the way that you anticipate sensations does feed into how bad it is or good it is. So it was a lot of work at realizing that like the sensations I would have were healthy and normal and safe. It was going to be messages helping my body to work, like the baby and the body working together to come out, and that I didn't have to be afraid of the pain. Uh-huh. And also knowing the strategies I could do to help. So making myself more comfortable and like helping the baby come down the pelvis by certain movements, being able to move a lot, stuff like that. I didn't have any restrictions on that stuff. So
where did you get that information? It was like you reading books, or your doula? How did you get that type of information?
From physical therapy.
Hey.
Yeah. So if someone else wanted that information, they could come to physical therapy prenatally and work with someone on birth prep. That's where we would work on musculoskeletal strategies. So how to prevent injury, how to help the baby with the position in the pelvis and things like that. So for me, I just knew that from work already. And I was really relying on that information. Like it makes you more accepting of pain, but not fearing it. And that makes the pain so much more doable. Like the only time I think I had that it was really, really hard for me was actually when like something more unexpected happened and I couldn't move around anymore. And I was like, his head was, it's called asynclitic, where the head is a little bit like cocked on like one side of the pelvis. So he wasn't moving down more. So when the midwife figured that out, we did a series of positions to help him get positioned better. And I had to stay in each position for 30 minutes. Wow. So I was having the contractions through those, and I already felt like I wanted to push. So it was like really, really hard.
What is the sensation for whoever doesn't know? Because I went to labor, but I ended up not having vaginal. What is the sensation for whoever wants to know that? Like the level of pain, or like what is the sensation like just having completely like a natural birth? Like the level
to push?
The contractions, the push, like the position, the awkward position that he was, like things like that.
Oh, so, well, everyone's different. So, like, the pain of labor, I was very prepared for that. It didn't bother me. And when I think about the whole experience, I really I mean, I just didn't, it was what I expected. And I knew that we wouldn't be doing any anesthesia. So it was fine. But there was like I think from his position that there was some pain that started developing. Like I could feel it in my abdomen and it didn't go away because he was kind of there for a long time. He wasn't getting centered very well. So that was what I mean by kind of what was unexpected is like, I thought I would get this break in between contractions, which would be more normal. But I just kind of had like this consistent pain in the belly area. And we knew it wasn't dangerous or anything. So I wasn't like afraid of it, but it was also, it made coping more difficult. And so I had to like, deal with that. And then when it was time to push, oh my God, I was so happy. Like it was a productive feeling. I remember being like, it's burning, but I was so happy for the sensation because I knew what it was and like, it felt productive after all the labor, right? It's like finally. And so it was a very welcome, again, because I knew that it wasn't a sensation of fear. I was just like, okay, good. Now I'm at this stage. Great. And it was very pleasant in that way. Like it was like, yeah.
So we have a question here. Let's see. Do you need a prescription for prenatal physical therapy? I went to one postpartum and had to get a script from my midwife. It was news to me. So do you know anything about that?
Is this person in America or Brazil?
Yes, in here.
Oh, okay.
She's actually she's here in San Antonio, actually.
Yeah. Okay. So in Texas, you do not need a script to go to physical therapy initially. So you can start PT for anything. It doesn't have to be postpartum or prenatal, whatever, your shoulder, whatever. But within 10 days or 10 or 15 days, you have to get a script. And so you can start, like maybe see what the plan is from your PT, and then you guys can get the script from there. So, and then it's just easier if the doctor writes the script right away, then you already have it, but you don't have to have it to start.
Okay. So just because our connection was not that great in the beginning, I'll just introduce myself a little bit, and then we can also introduce yourself for whoever is watching you now, so people know a little bit more about you. So who just started like be with us like after we started live? My name is Claudinha with Aconchego, mom coach. I help moms, especially in the first couple years of motherhood, lining their life. It can be a mess for some moms, and I'm here to help. And Melissa is my sister-in-law. She's a PT, and she's married to Ben and has a beautiful boy, baby Zeno. He's almost 3 years old. What else, Melly? Can you tell people more about you?
Yes, so I am a pelvic health specialist, physical therapist, and a lot of the people who I help are prenatal or postpartum clients. And we were talking about how that helped me in my choice for doing a home birth. I only have one child, and he was born at home in New York City in 2018.
Awesome. So yeah, so we talked about like preparing yourself physically. You said you read a book that it was helpful, and also just having your background, being a professional and all that, it was helpful. Emotionally, the same way, just getting the information make you like more comfortable with the decision. And about picking professionals, what are like the type of questions you suggest people, whoever's like thinking about have a baby at home, like what are like the key questions? What is important to know about your doula, midwife? What are your tips on that?
So with the midwife, there are certainly, you can look online and find like recommended questions and interviews and stuff. So with the midwife, you might want to know their background, like where have they practiced? Have they practiced in other states or other countries? For instance, mine, I think originally she delivered babies in Peru, and it was kind of like a rural area. And then she moved here and is in New York City. So, so she had experience in a few different types of locations. And then how long they've been doing it, if that matters to you. They're all certified, so you can certainly check on that online on your own to like verify that that's legitimate. Yeah. And then, you know, their structures. So some midwives have a clinic, or actually they might be in a birth center and have you come in for your prenatal appointments. And a lot of them do home visits. So they'll just come to your home. So like all of my prenatal visits were on my couch and with my dog. And so there's that, if that matters to you, or if like commuting or anything is a problem. Certainly the pay structure, you know, you have to make sure that, see about your insurance coverage or what the cost is. If it's something you want to make happen, that you can cover it. And then I think just kind of talking, like getting a sense if you connect with the person, because that will be the one at the birth. So this is your chance to kind of like have a good vibe, a good like feeling about somebody, not just the objective, like how they look on paper, but like, do you get along well? Do you connect? You know, do you like their structure and like feel comfortable with it? And then ask them questions like, what do you do? Which hospitals do you like to go to if we have to transfer? And how do you know when we might have to transfer? That's probably a huge issue, I think, in most countries where home births are not common anymore. That's like the number one thing I would get asked is, what happens if something happens? But the midwives are licensed in this, and so their education and their experience prepares them to recognize issues that require transfer in enough time that it's not a tragedy. So it's very safe. I mean, the track record for home birth is very good. But you can, you know, like I ask those questions because even if the answer is pretty standard and they follow, you know, good guidelines, I still wanted to hear how that person answered questions about the worst case scenario, or like, you know, anything I was worried about. So mine also required a doula for first time birthers. So I already wanted one, but I also liked that. I thought that was a very good requirement because someone who has never had the experience before, she was trying to make sure that they had the most support possible in their home. And you never know, like, what if I were a single parent and I didn't have anyone else to be my birth partner? Or maybe I had a parent as my birth partner, but we have a strained relationship. You know, like you never know. You never know what the person's situation is. So she just had that as a requirement, which I thought was like a good one. And so just what I liked with her.
That's nice. I was about to ask you, is it like, let's say if you go to a doctor and they would give a recommendation for a midwife, or they would feel like, how's the relationship with between OBs and midwives?
I do not know what the OBs and midwives would say, but you know, that like individually, but there are some that work really well together. So in some hospitals, in some hospitals, there are both midwives and OBs. Like the practice where I originally was going just for gynecology, there were midwives and OBs there available for delivering babies. Okay. So sometimes they work together. Sometimes they work separately, but maybe they know each other in the community and they have a good relationship. As far as, but I think that's pretty individual. So sometimes.
So if you have in a baby, you have like intention to have all like as natural as possible, but in a hospital, is it recommended to have like a doula or a midwife?
If you do not want any intervention with a vaginal birth, the midwife is the expert trained in that the most. They don't have training in interventions, so they won't be ready to use those or able to use those.
Yeah.
And so if something like, if there's a variation in the presentation, like let's say like my baby was kind of stuck on one side a little bit, it wasn't actually an emergency. It didn't need anything extra, any extra tools or anything, not even monitoring. Like she only felt like a manual check a few times. So if something like that happens where it seems like there's something affecting the progress of the baby or whatever, then they use other techniques to improve the, what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't want the least possibility of having an intervention, then it's going to be someone who doesn't use interventions. The doula, research on doulas also does show that they help with coping, which tends to lead to better outcomes without needing extra physical support. And I think the number one statistical advantage of doulas is that the satisfaction, the rating of the birth experience is very high. So
I think if I have a second chance, I would have at least a doula with me. Just to know and explain to me what's really going on, you know what I mean? Just to give me the comfort to tell me that's normal, that's okay, no, do that, help her this way. Just kind of having someone there knowing what's going on. Because Dan was there with me all the time. I mean, he was great, but we were both in the same boat. You know what I mean?
Right,
we didn't know what was happening.
Yeah, Dan's not he doesn't work with women giving birth, right? How would he know? Yeah, so they also function as an advocate, right? If you wanted your experience to be a certain way, they can help you to, try to maintain. Because when you're in it, you can't always remember that you wanted something or didn't want something, or you don't realize what someone around you is doing. So this person can help kind of be aware of those things and help you. So, yeah, I love doulas.
So is a doula covered by insurance here in the United States, or it's something you have to pay from your own pocket?
I don't know.
Okay.
I hate to say that. Maybe I should know that. I don't know. It might depend by state. It might depend by insurance plan.
Yeah.
I don't know. That stuff I'm not good with the insurance questions.
Yeah. So we don't have so much time anymore, but can you just tell us the highlights of your birth, whatever was the most challenging thing and the most joyful thing on your birth? And the third question, how long it took overall from the beginning to end?
The beginning to end, I have no idea. It was from the beginning of when I started tracking regular contractions, I was in true labor and it continued progressing. I think it was 32, 36. It's pretty normal window, but I don't remember.
It was when he's coming. It was he in the morning, in the evening. When did that start?
No, okay. So he came at after 10 o'clock at night, and we thought he would be here more at 4 p.m. that day. So he came 6 hours later than we thought. So I would say
in the morning. You said, you trying on bras, whatever. So
that was 11 o'clock the day before.
Okay.
And then I went through one day, and then that was well, no, because 11, I would say 11:30, 11 o'clock, whatever, a.m. to 11 p.m. of that day was regular contractions, but no big deal. I was walking around like normal. I was talking. I was
21 hours?
12, that was 12 hours.
Okay.
Then around midnight in through the next day is when it was more serious, and I was focusing and trying to, pay attention and stuff. And that was another, that was 22 hours.
Okay. So you think the total was about 22 hours?
I guess so. I don't know. That was part of my goal, is to not track a lot. I didn't want to. I just wanted to kind of roll with it.
Whoever you will be trying for the first time, have kind of an expectation, which I think is a really bad thing. Whoever's watching that, like, think is the most frustration thing. It's put expectations on birth or whatever is like related to motherhood, because once like your baby comes to the world, or like starting from birth, we basically lose the control. Like things doesn't happen the way we really planned. So that's one thing. Like I think it was a learning experience for me. Like you just kind of like you can like do like a list and things will happen that way. It's not like that. So it can be really frustrating for whoever like he has like a set of expectations. It's just not the way it happens. So what is the highlights, like the most challenging thing like during your birth at home, and the most like joyful thing?
The most challenging was the last 6 hours there, like leading up to him coming out, because I felt like pushing earlier than I did, but because we were trying to get his positioning a little different, so I wasn't able to just move as freely. Like we were trying specific positions, and that was challenging mentally for me. It made me realize that I probably should have done more preparation with meditation and breathing.
So what did you do that time? Tell us, describe to us.
I don't know. I was like I was zoned out. I was just probably yelling at people.
Was it like in bed?
Oh, no, one position was more like on the floor, one was on the couch, and the last one was I could have like a foot on a footstool. So I was standing or I was bouncing on the ball, and I liked that one. But the first two were very challenging to just stay there. And that's where everyone was around me, like trying to help me and maybe massaging my back. And I said I was yelling at people, but I was joking. There was no yelling. It's pretty calm at home. Like you're just like moving around, you're making your like whatever noises you make, and eating the toast, the stupid toast, and then I hate that toast. And I mean the highlights, like as far as joyful, there's the most joyful, but I will say something else I really enjoyed is that I can recall very specific details. Like there was a bug on the curtains at one point, and it was like my least favorite bug, like one of my worst enemies, and I was like, get the bug. And everyone, like, I don't think anyone expected me to care, and I was like, get the bug. And then she like missed it and tried to pretend I didn't notice. I was like, it's on the floor now. Like, so that like probably wouldn't have happened anywhere else. I got to go outside a little.
Hi, Legion's saying like if you yelling and if like you being pissed to people was just okay, but if you did, it's okay.
Yeah, I guess so. And then I remember like the highlight was, I mean, actually this feeds into your mom coach stuff a lot too. My favorite time was right after. It was so relaxed. They literally just get the baby out, make sure everything's okay, and then the baby hangs out with you. Like everyone's dirty, like no one cares. And we just laid there in the exact same spot where he was born for however we wanted. And then when I got up to like go to the bathroom and kind of like move somewhere more comfortable, Ben got to hold him by himself, and then the cord just stays like, it's fine. The cord just sits there.
How long did you have the cord on you?
An hour? I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
And he was already crying and breastfeeding all that? No.
He didn't cry. He was just kind of laying there. And then when we moved to the bed, which I think was an hour later, then he was starting to latch. And so the doula, by the way, the doula is still there. The midwife and doula are there for like several hours after. Mm-hmm. And so the midwife makes sure the baby's okay, kind of is examining you, helps with the birth of the placenta, and then is kind of like cleaning up and doing things. And then the doula helps with lactation, like starting the breastfeeding. And then the midwife will weigh the baby like in the little sling with the weight on it. It's really cute. And they'll do like whatever the requirements are for the baby and get like the paperwork ready for whatever the state, I don't know, whoever has to register the baby. And then
so who gets
that's it.
Ben needed to get the papers, or they get the papers for you?
No, the midwife will write down the information that's needed to like get his social security card or whatever, like those little things. And then
that's
if you
good
do,
to know for whoever's like thinking to have a baby at home, that's good to know. That's kind of like they can help you with that.
Yeah, when you book the midwife appointment, they're guiding you in everything else. They tell you what to buy. They give you the list of supplies. They tell you how it's going to happen. They tell you what's
I wish I knew that.
Baby. Like it's very it's official. It's not like you know, I think people maybe think it's like a hippie thing, like somebody who just wants to like be out in the woods and whatever. Like it's a real thing. Like if you are still very, you know, want like a lot of structure and are concerned about emergencies and stuff, like that's what they provide. They're good. So it's still going to be very official and structured. And then with the breastfeeding thing, that was huge for getting me started on that.
Breastfeeding is hard.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. So like they are helping with, that's the one thing I didn't prepare for. I have no idea why I didn't.
But you're doing great. Like,
I did all.
breastfeeding.
I'm making up for it now.
Yeah,
he's gonna breastfeed when he's 10.
Old. And just for whoever doesn't know, he's almost 2 years old and he's still breastfeeding. So you did great.
He's a pro now. He
Yeah.
did it himself. Yeah. But the doula helps. Like, yeah, there were still challenges after, but like the starting it out and checking the latch and making sure the baby's doing it well, and like, you know, when you don't have anesthesia or any of that stuff, you're very aware. Like, there's the milk flow is good and the baby is alert and all that stuff. So it is helpful. And the doula, you can hire a postpartum doula. It doesn't have to be someone who was at the birth, but a lot of times, and a lot of times the birth doula can provide services postpartum too. So you would just work that out in your contract. But the postpartum services, you can pay for a little bit or a lot. And with mine, we had a few visits. Like, she came to the house another time or two, and then the midwife also will come to the house, like, you know, a certain number of days after the birth to make sure everyone is doing okay. So she'll do those medical checks, and then she'll do the last medical check too. So you don't have to go to anyone else. And a lot of midwives actually provide routine exams too. So you can continue seeing your birth midwife for regular female exams.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
So Lucy's telling us like the breastfeeding was the easiest part for her.
That's great.
Yeah, it was not that difficult for me. It was just like the first couple, like I feel like it's the first 2 months the most challenging thing. Like after the 2 months, like you get the position, you get the right way to breastfeed. But certainly can be a challenging too.
Yeah, I agree. That was the hardest part, and then it became so much more natural. I used to send video clips of what was happening to the doula, so we would text each other. Yeah, she would accept text messages to try to help me with if I had a question or something wasn't going right. And so even though we didn't have any more visits, I guess the part of the contract or whatever was like that kind of communication. So that was helpful too. But I just remember the most joyful and like the best part of doing the home birth for me was actually the first few hours after, because it was so unrushed and so like we just were there and no one was.
Did you have pain in your parts after all that? Like, how did you treat that?
The midwife checks. So like after the placenta is birthed, like they'll make sure you're okay and like check for tears or anything like that. I didn't have any problem, fortunately. So if you need stitches, then they do it right there. And they have local numbing, so they'll put that. Yeah, they have things for like if you have if you're GBS positive, right, the group B strep, they can do the IV at home. So it's not, that's not a problem. So they can do IV, they can do all of the stuff, little things, postpartum if you have tearing or anything like that. And then they are making sure that the placenta detached, there's no like bleeding issues, and then they're there for a few hours still. And then when they left, I was like eating frozen watermelon in my bed with the baby, and like everything was, I mean, the house was cleaned. It was amazing. The kitchen table was like back where it belonged. I mean, it was like nothing had happened. It was,
that's nice.
It's like really nice. It was a really nice.
I'm so glad you had a good experience. I'm really happy for you. So anyways, you're almost to approach the time, otherwise Instagram will cut our live.
Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. If anyone has questions, please send a message to Melissa, or you can send a message to me too. She can leave her Instagram, or maybe can like just post something that people can find you. Thank you so much for spending the time with us and sharing all your experience. Like I had to learn, like even though like we are sister-in-laws, like I had to learn like new things right now. It was fun. So yeah, so thank you so much. And
thank you.
If anyone has any questions, please send a message. Do you have like any special way you want people message you if they have any questions?
No, I think on the Instagram, if you want to do the direct message, or like I posted something on the feed about the live today, so it could be comments on there. You could do comments, or actually with my Instagram page, it's my professional information, so like email and stuff are on there, so you could actually even do that.
Yeah, so we had like a couple people join us after you introduce yourself. Do you want to tell people a little bit more what you do? How can you help people, especially after birth?
Yes, so I'm a physical therapist. I specialize in pelvic health, and so a lot of the people I work with are prenatal and postpartum, and so I can help with symptoms during pregnancy and with preparing for birth and having a more efficient birth, avoiding birth injuries, and then postpartum rehab. So that could be anything from just getting through the first few months, kind of those like any injury type of issues, and then also all the way up to like going back to working out, sports, like whatever level of activity. And that could be a few years out. So it's like, it's never too late, you know, and that includes cesarean, right? Like preparing for scar mobilization and like treating scar tissue and stuff like that. So I would say that like online services too. I do have, yes, I help with scar massage and teaching people how to do it. So online sessions, if you're not local, are one of my options for appointments. And I just recommend that for everybody. It's so there's such easy tips you can do to yourself to kind of help with some of the rehab, and also with birth, like being really prepared. I just think it helps to make the first few months as a parent so much calmer and
she's in San Antonio, Texas. She's just basically my neighbor. Someone is like, because the quarantine, I'm not sure which city you are.
Okay, so, San Antonio.
Yeah.
But the online is anybody, obviously.
Yeah, everywhere.
Including Brazil.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. Like, also thank you for everyone that participated and asked questions. Thank you for being here for our live, and I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll talk to you all next time. Thank you so much, Melly.
Thanks for hosting.
Yeah, of course. Bye-bye.
How do I turn it off?
I hear.